Hey, Frame Fitness. We're going to spend 10 minutes together today talking about one of the subjects that is near and dear to my heart. We're going to talk about how to find your core. And in some of my more beginner sequences, some of our rehab sequences, we go over this a little bit quicker at the start, but this is your foundation. For everything you do on the mat, for everything you do on the machine, you need to know how to not only crunch and feel your six-pack abs, your rectus abdominis, but you need to be able to feel the deepest layer of your abs, your transverse abdominis, your pelvic floor, your internal obliques. There's so many more fascial connections. There's so much importance to learning how to find this in order to better stabilize and support your back and your pelvis. Back injuries, pregnancy, neck injuries, ankle injuries for that matter, if we don't know how to activate through our core, we're really doing a disservice for our body. So I have a couple of props to help you guys find what we're looking for in our core today. We're going to start with how I like to start many of my beginner series. And that's because it's the most effective place to learn how to find your core. It's not the only place we do it, but it's a really nice place to start. I'm going to grab my ball. I'm also going to grab my band. I'm going to keep that nice and close by. Ball's going in between my knees. You can use a yoga block as well. And I'm going to lie down on the ground. From there, we're just going to go into a posterior pelvic tuck or an imprint and an anterior tilt. That creates that space between the low back and the floor. Be mindful of how much you're rocking your whole body back and forth. Make it about your pelvis. And try to find your halfway distance in between there. That's about mine. Another quick check. You can put the heels of your hands on your hip bones. You can put your fingers on your pubic bone. And you want that triangle to be kind of nice and flat as much as you can. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you, many of us will find this is a bit too much of an arch. You can just settle your low back slightly into the ground. You want to make sure, and I have a microphone underneath mine, so it's a little harder to, but you want to try to get the back of your rib cage nice and down onto the ground as well. And then your face, sometimes I'll cue it like a dinner plate. So you want to make sure that dinner plate is nice and flat. Food doesn't slide forward, food doesn't slide back. That's your neutral. It's not the only place you should feel your core, but it's the best place to start. I want you to have your hands or your fingertips inside your hip bones here. This isn't the only place your deep core lies, but it's a really nice place to feel it. As you exhale, feel the tension generate by drawing your two hip bones together. It's an imaginary guide wire between your two hip bones. You want to feel that nice connection. You want to feel tension under the surface without popping into your fingers. So it's just a tension underneath. Another cue is drawing your navel towards your spine. For me, that makes me suck in a little bit, so that cue doesn't work for me. From there, we're just going to find a couple connections with our exhale. So as you exhale, you want to think about bringing that guide wire together. As you inhale, you should still be able to hold a little bit of that tension, but you might feel it release slightly. Another good cue for women is to really think about kind of stopping the flow. So you're going to the washroom, you want to stop the flow midstream. I know it's something we don't like to talk about, but it's a really nice way to transition into the pelvic floor. That cue works for men too, so it's a really great one. For women, another one I like to use is, as you exhale, you're going to think about your pelvic floor. It's an elevator. And you're going to lift that elevator nice and slow all the way towards the top. That's with your exhale. And then with your inhale, let that pelvic floor release down towards the bottom. Now, I can't feel my pelvic floor, but I can feel how that pelvic floor connects to my deep core. So let's try that again. As I exhale, pelvic floor lifts up towards the top, and I feel that tension. As I inhale, I lower it slowly. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about how that inner core activates with our inner thigh. So you'll often see me in my classes talking about finding these gentle little squeezes. So let's make that connection because there is a nice fascial or muscular connection between our inner thighs and our pelvic floor. So I want you to feel that tension generate. As you exhale, feel this deepen. As you inhale, release. And if you had trouble with the other cues, this is a really nice place to feel it. Exhale, bring it on. Inhale to release. Back problems, pregnancy, postpartum, beautiful place to start. Another good exercise I like to give, holding on to a band. So you're gonna take a resistance band, you're gonna stack it above your shoulders. Pick any tension that works for you. I'm gonna lighten the tension by just holding one loop of it. Again, making sure you're not flaring your rib cage. Let's bring on that tension of the lower part of that inner unit by squeezing the ball. Feel inner thighs, feel deep core. We're gonna add on by pulling apart the band. As you exhale, feel that band pull apart. Feel your abs generate more tension. Inhale to stabilize, but bring the arms back. So again, you can start to see how this becomes a little bit more relevant. As you're working through your arm exercises, your leg exercises, this inner unit, this group of muscles, should be turning on to help to stabilize your pelvis and your spine and anticipate the movement. It really functions to help prepare you. So it turns on just before I open the band. It still stays on as I release it and with my inhale, but you'll feel the connection deepen as you move the band apart, as you create a greater force momentum. Let's try 2 more there. Exhale, band pulls apart. I'm keeping the tension in my inner thighs. Inhale back to starters. Good. And last one, pulling it apart. Inhale back. Beautiful. We're going to take the ball out. Again, we moved with the upper. We moved a little bit with the inner thighs. I want to go over just some marches. And again, this is just a really basic exercise. As you exhale, I want you to feel that it's your abs that stabilize you and not your hip flexors. If you need to add a little bit of an imprint in the low back, don't smush the low back into the floor, but you can feel it kind of just gently melt into the floor. Exhale, one leg is going to lift. I feel my core on. Inhale, it lowers. Good. Exhale on. And the idea is that you are rocking those hip bones as little as possible. Again, it's the same thing when we're on the machine. Whether we're bridging, whether we're lunging, whether we're working in through our arms, you want to keep this system as stable as possible while you're moving through the extremities. Not only does that help to flatten the abs, which aesthetically is nice, but more importantly, functionally it works. It helps to give you that support in your stability. Imagine all of us that are walking around with low back injuries, disc herniations, a whole series of things can go wrong in our bodies. And the more we tap into this muscular stability, the more we can help to compensate for maybe some issues in our passive stability, ligaments, discs, so on and so forth. The last little bit I want to show you here, because we do a lot of planks, a lot of 4-point kneeling on our hands and knees, things like that in class, is the idea that you can activate this even on your hands and knees. So again, just to give you that little bit of that extra cue, ball between the knees. You're going to find your nice neutral spine. If you need to cat-cow a couple of times to find it, you can. It's the same idea as imprint and arch. You're going to find halfway in between your cat and your cow. For me, it works better to have my feet down. By all means, tuck your toes. I want you to feel as you squeeze that ball, that same line of tension starts to generate. Feel how this gets really nice and deep into the core, helps to offer some stability, helps to work those deep stabilizers. Exhales maybe generate a little bit more tension. Inhales, maybe releasing it a bit, but still keeping it on. We're going to hold on a tiny bit of a squeeze. Now we're going to tuck the toes. Again, thinking of working that deep inner unit. Good. We're going to lift and lower the knees. Exhale, feel core come on. Inhale, we're going to tap them down. Exhale, feel core come on. I'm lifting and lowering, but I shouldn't be arching and tucking through my pelvis. It's the idea that my pelvic position stays the same by working that core. Good. Let's find one more. And then last move we're going to find here together. Bird dog. Super common exercise, but what exactly are we doing? We want to find the stability of that inner unit, and part of that inner unit are our back muscles. So we're working that deep core, but we're also working that back. So I like to start with just one leg back, toes down onto the ground, arm out in front of you. Good. From there, you're going to lift both of the limbs, again, finding that stability. Find that nice inhale as you bring everything in, and then you don't need to round your spine. Let's just draw the limbs underneath, elbow underneath shoulder, knee underneath hip. Feel the core. All the way back out again with your inhale. Exhale, finding a little bit of a bend, keeping everything on. Inhale as you stretch. Good. Exhale back in. Inhale as you stretch, good. Last one, and switch to the other side. We're just gonna find 3 reps here. Again, find that nice neutral spine. Leg lifts, toes down. This helps me find my alignment. From there, I lift the leg. Inhale helps me reach out, good. Exhale, keeping core steady, limbs come closer together, no crunching, finding stability. Inhale out. Of course, you can find a crunch. It's just a little bit different of an exercise. And today, it's all about learning how to just find those stabilizers while keeping that pelvic neutral. Let's find one more together, sending all the way out, nice, and lowering down. That's our little introduction to how to find your core. The next class that you do, I want you to think about this system, how it's working to stabilize you, and how you can tap in consciously a little deeper to this core. It's gonna help to work our spinal stabilizers, our pelvic stabilizers. It's also gonna help you find that flattening of the abs that many of us are after. I hope this helps you a little bit more in your next class.